Lenses are the obsession of every photographer and cinematographer. Hi, my name's David. I'm an independent director of photography, and today I'd like to run through my collection of professional lenses that I've been accumulating over the past 15 years, and I'll give you a little backstory on each lens and why I felt it was the right time and lens to purchase. So first, I'd like to start with my background. It may be a little different than most. I came up in cable televised sports. I actually started in high school working as a technician, a video utility. I would string cable from the multi-camera truck through a stadium to cover local college football and basketball games. So from there I wised up and figured out this is awful being out in the cold. I want to get in the truck. So I started to befriend the engineers and hey, teach me how to shade cameras. I want to learn how to do the Chiron, the score and titles at the bottom of frame. I want to do the slow-mo playback. So my background is TV, it's not filmmaking, and this is my first lens. This is a 2/3 inch industrial grade lens. It's made for a shoulder camera. And this is, I think back in the early 90s, this is a Canon 15 by 9.5 B4. I took this for granted that this was just like the standardized way of doing things. 15:1 magnification, so I can get wide head to toe and punch in and get a shot like this on somebody from, let's say, 10 feet away. So I got out of school and started working professionally late 90s, early 2000s, right up to about 2008. All of the equipment I was using was rental, or I would hire another owner operator that would come out and run the gear, or be the technician. And most of the work we were doing was in standard def, and later, maybe about 2006 onward, HD, but television cameras with 2/3 inch sensors. So we were working from variations of what this would be called a standard zoom, so 15:1 or 18:1 magnification, and 7.5 to 8.5 millimeter on the wide angle. Now that's for 2/3 inch. Late 2007, a good friend of mine, a director, had placed a deposit on a Red 1 and received number 99. The original batch of Red cameras, they shipped 100 of them. So he picked up this new camera, but we didn't have any optics, monitors, or support kit to shoot on it. Now in 2007, 2008, there were no affordable PL lens options. You had a set of Cooke S4s or the Zeiss Ultra Primes, and you're spending $10,000 to $25,000 per lens for primes, and a zoom would be $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. So the market was in desperate need of lower price point optics. We made the decision to buy a EF adapter for the Red 1, a Canon 24 to 70 2.8 L. This is the Mark 1. This was the current model at the time, and I had purchased this for shooting stills on, I think that was before the 5D Mark 1. Weathered the 2008 recession, it was brutal. I was not purchasing equipment. Jump ahead to 2010, the economy had improved, the production economy had come back really strong. I had a great year in 2010, and about mid-year I made the decision to invest with a partner in a set of Red Primes. Now in 2010, I remember back, it was the same dynamic. Purchasing new, there wasn't really anything affordable for an owner-operator in PL form. 5 lenses, 25 mil to 100 mil, and then you had to pay extra for an 18. This is the 35 millimeter. I've got more hours on this lens than any of the others in the set. This is usually if I'm shooting a stand-up to camera or an interview, I'm on the 35. And the next most utilized lens would be the 50 when the 35 is just too much field of view. So they're the negative on the Red Primes is they're heavy. They're big and they're heavy. The 50 mil and higher are shorter. I think they only go up to about here. Here, I'll grab one. So here you go. This is 50, 85, 100 is a shorter length. But the 35, which I utilize the most, is noticeably heavier and a bit longer. So nowadays, where I own several zooms, I'll often throw the 35 and the 50 in like a little low pro backpack just to have a T1.8 option if I need to go hyper shallow. So these things are great. Now it's 10 years and I use them less and less, but I have a shoot on Monday where we're doing some testimonial style format, and I'm gonna work on a zoom for everything, but I'm gonna bring the 35 and 50, just like I said. I might throw it up. If I don't have a friendly background that augments the subject material for the interview, I'll throw one of these on and shoot at a 2.0 and just fuzz out maximum bokeh in the background. Moving on to 2014, I had clocked 4 years of exclusively shooting on prime lenses, and it made me a better filmmaker. I would have a plan in my head and pre-visualize a bit more, like, okay, I want to be on the 35, and I would land the sticks at 6 feet away from my subject, knowing the size it was going to be, then we'd throw the lens up. And after a few years of that, I got really good at not having to change lenses because I made the wrong decision. And it made us move quicker because we had a plan. I knew what it would look like beforehand, where you get in this bad habit, and I catch myself every once in a while on a zoom. It's like, you kind of bump the camera in a little, you fish in and out on the zoom, you move left, you move right, you get in this like tweaking mentality. It makes you a better disciplined filmmaker to shoot with primes for a while. And now that I'm on zooms almost exclusively, I still have that same mindset where I've got a focal length, I know where to land the camera, and I just have the luxury of being on one lens for most of the day. 2014, my first Amira shipped, and my client base was shifting a bit. Prior to that, I was shooting mostly television commercials and corporate marketing pieces. And around 2013-14, I was getting more bookings in broadcast, E&G type of work, connected to sports or news, which really got me back to my roots of where I started in high school. And I was going back, like, instead of being on a dolly with a camera assistant and a DIT, I was back to a one-person camera department, working a lot off of my shoulder. And a set of primes and a shoulder camera by yourself is just not an efficient platform. So I realized I had to buy a lens. And I was looking at the time, there was the Fujinon Servo Zoom, the Cabrio 19-90. I think it was like a $40,000 lens at the time. And I couldn't justify the spend for that lens. So I wanted something a bit more, I needed something more affordable, and looked around, and the Canon compact zoom 30-105, it's like half the price, T2.8, calibrated witness marks throughout the range. So minimum focus, let's see here, a little bit less than 2 feet. It's marked at 2 feet, and then I got a nice throw to 2 foot 1 inch, 2 foot 2 inch, 2 foot 3 inch. So this thing is fantastic for shooting tabletop. I don't know if I've ever hit the minimum focus and required less for tabletop. Out of my current collection of lenses, this is the best lens in terms of optics, sharpness, minimal distortion. The calibrated witness marks are wonderful for repeatable focus marks with an assistant. I've got more time looking through this lens than any of the other lenses in my collection. For about 2 years, this was my kit. I would carry 30-105 and then the red 18mm prime for the rare times that I needed to get wider than 30. Early 2016, I was shooting a lot of Steadicam projects, and a used 15-47 became available. This is the matched wide version of the 30-105. And I thought this was a great opportunity to jump on it for the Steadicam work. And then when I had 2 camera projects, I would have 2 matched lenses, and I could get a wide and a tighter and be self-contained. So now that I've invested significant funds in 2 Canon zooms, it only made sense to stick with one brand. And I picked up a Canon 30-300, T2.95 up to, it ramps a little bit. Yeah, so it goes to 240mm at T2.95, and then it stops down a little bit. I frankly don't even remember. I'm rarely at a T2.95 on this thing because if I have this lens up, I'm usually on the telephoto side, and I need like a 5.6 or even an 8 outdoors. So yeah, I've run all over a golf course with an Amira underslung. I'll sit on the golf cart with the camera on my knee and pick off B-roll from the cart path, high speed. It's fun. It's heavy, but it's fun. And I went from using this lens a couple times a month to not using it a whole lot. It went out in December for a show. It was out for a week. And yeah, that was the last time it's been up. That was mid-December. And chatted with a couple of relationships at rental houses up in LA to see if anyone would be interested in putting this on the shelf to consign. And kind of the consensus is like when it zooms at the rental house level, Canon's not a popular brand. It doesn't appear to be a viable investment to consign this lens. And while I love it, I think it's time to put it up for sale and put that capital into some other kit. I just picked up the FX9, which I'm recording on today, and at the moment I have one E-mount lens. That's a Sigma Art Series 50mm, and we're shooting at a 2.8 right now with the base tracker autofocus. And I haven't used this camera on a real job yet. I'm still in the learning stage, but I'll be curious to see how much hunting and accurate the focus is right now and throughout the video. As my career continues to evolve, client trends shift, I'm back to shooting E&G and documentary work. And last year, 2019, I bought the Canon, I gotta look at it, 17-120 servo zoom. Canon markets this thing as a cinema zoom. It's not a cinema lens, this is a broadcast lens. This is just like my early 90s Canon servo zoom. So this guy's a 15-1. Now because this has a bigger image circle, it's only 7-1. That really puts things in perspective too. Like for 40 years, you've been able to go 15-1 on a broadcast lens, but because the image circle is bigger, it's just a fundamental trade-off in optical design. The longer the magnification range, the bigger and heavier the lens gets. And this guy's really pushing the limits. I think it's 6.5 pounds of what you can manage on your shoulder. For comparison, my workhorse, the 30-105 and the 17-120, you can see the 17-120 is a bit bigger, it's a little bit heavier. I'll throw the specs up at the bottom on the weights because I don't recall, but I think they're both around like maybe 5.5 and 6.5 pounds. The big thing on the 17-120 that takes some getting used to is the weight is forward of the servo grip. That front element's pretty heavy. This one's fairly neutral. And optically, this is a superior lens. Less distortion, less focus breathing, but it has less range. Like I can't get in like a documentary situation where I'm 6 or 8 feet from the subject. At 30mm, I can't get a nice wide, like near head to toe, where the 17-120 is like my other old school servo zoom. I can go head to toe and then get that tight close up without repositioning. And the servo, so I can do nice smooth pushes and pulls that are so popular with broadcast coverage. Boy, I look at that shelf behind me and that is a lot of capital tied up in glass. But each of those lenses serves a purpose and is directly contributing to my bookings in the calendar. And there are times I need a 10-1 zoom. There are jobs where I need that servo zoom, and there are jobs where those primes are the right choice. So that is the balance. I gotta weigh not only the cost to subrent each time I need it, but it's more about the time. I gotta go pick it up and return it, prep it, make sure I'm comfortable with it. That first lens, or the red primes, that was like 5 years of saving to purchase. And then the same for each one of those back there were save income and a cash purchase, except for the most recent one, that 17-120. I didn't have the cash, but I had a calendar full of work that required it. So I worked out a payment plan on that one, and I lucked out. I actually paid it off in 2019. Purchased and paid off in 1 year. All right, this one's run on long enough. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are. Am I crazy? Do I have too much glass, or is that about right? All right, that's it for now. Thanks for watching.